Where do you find people now? People that you want to date?
Church.
No, it's a bad place to find a woman now, is at church.
Why?
Terrible place. Well, because what happens is there's what's called the Great Reformation. There's a lot of women out there who have ridden what we like to refer to as the carousel. They couldn't find a guy, and so in their 30s now, they're kind of screwed. And so what they do is they reform and find Jesus. Go to the church, and then when they're at the church, they try to meet guys. If a man in his 20s and 30s doesn't want to marry a former prostitute because she converted to Christianity, he probably doesn't need to.
Welcome to Real Girl World, your go-to destination for all things dating and relationships. My name's Hannah Jordan, and today I have for you a real-world account of what happened to a man who found his future wife in church. Unfortunately, his suspicions led him to hiring a private detective, which unveiled some sordid truth. We'll discuss the one seemingly reliable place to find a spouse, and how it might just end up being that the church is a modern dating trap. Hit that subscribe button and that like button, it really means a lot to me to help me grow my channel. And we'll listen to Andrew Wilson on the subject.
Where do you find people now? People that you want to date?
Church.
No, it's a bad place to find a woman now, is at church.
Why?
Terrible place. Well, because what happens is there's what's called the Great Reformation.
I'm not going to like this, I'll tell you right now.
What happens is there's a lot of women out there who are getting into their 30s. They have ridden what we like to refer to as the carousel, and they did it for a long time.
It's true.
They couldn't find a guy, and so in their 30s now, they're kind of screwed. And so what they do is they reform and find Jesus, and then go to the church, and then when they're at the church, they try to meet guys.
As somebody who met their spouse in church many years ago, I would have said that the church was a good place to find someone to date. However, I'm definitely noticing on social media there is a bit of a trend. Not only are men talking about the pitfalls of meeting somebody in church, but that women are openly talking about also going to church to find a husband as a last-ditch resort.
But is it a problem if they really find Jesus?
Maybe they're coming for all the right reasons, but it really doesn't change the fact that I don't think that if a man in his 20s and 30s doesn't want to marry a former because she converted to Christianity, he probably doesn't need to.
I agree with Andrew, and it reminds me of Nala, the former OF model turned fitness influencer Christian. And I have no doubts that there are some women who have changed their lives and done so sincerely, but I don't think it's fair to shame men who do not want to have relationships with these reformed women, nor should they be tricked or guilt-tripped into it. Which brings me to today's story, courtesy of Private Russ on X. Make sure to give him a follow. The case of the former turned born again. Private investigator that has investigated many cheating spouses' cases. The case of the former turned born again. I'm waiting for a ring before I give up the cookies. Client, well-to-do professional that had been divorced twice before and paid a heavy emotional and financial price. The situation. Client is introduced to a beautiful woman, 8.5 out of 10, at church. They become friends, which leads to dating, which leads to a marriage proposal. One of her conditions was that he adopt her 2 children from her ex-boyfriend. The case. The client and his business partner reached out to me and requested a deep background check. The partner had expressed reservations about the young lady and wanted me to look into her past. The deep background was not very difficult to uncover. She had multiple arrests in a different state. The nature of the arrests led me to believe that at some point she was working as a sidewalk hostess, if you understand what I'm saying. Her urban pharmaceutical of choice was meth. I gave these findings to the client and his business partner, and the client was still determined to marry her because she had changed her life, according to her, had been celibate for the past year and a half. LOL. I explained to the client and his business associate that in my experience most women are never really ever celibate, especially women as attractive as she is. So I made the client a deal. I told him that we would put surveillance on her for 1 week, and if we found nothing, he would not have to pay, but if we found something, he would have to give my surveillance guys a healthy bonus. He accepted. The condition of the deal was that he not say anything to her about the surveillance or the investigation. The investigation lasted less than 72 hours, LOL. We started surveillance on the subject on a Friday morning. She was followed to work and everything was uneventful. The client picked her up for their weekly date night, which was typically Friday night. He took her out for a nice dinner, they went dancing, all of which was observed by my surveillance team. He dropped her off, went into her residence for about 5 minutes, then exited. She walked him to the car, they kissed goodbye, he went home, and she went inside. Approximately 45 minutes after the client dropped her off and left, a male had been seen approaching her place of residence from around the corner. He entered the residence seemingly with a key of his own, and he stayed overnight. He left early the next morning. His car was flagged, and he was photographed. We ran his tags and we were able to ascertain that this individual was the father of this woman's 2 children and her business manager while she was a sidewalk hostess. We broke the news to the client and his business partner, at which point the client ended his relationship with this young lady. To my knowledge, he never explained the investigation or the findings. In my opinion, we saved this man from a lot of financial and emotional turmoil. The moral of this story is, as men, we have a tendency to only glance at the surface value of women. You cannot judge a woman by her looks or her surroundings. The people at the church knew this woman's background but did not disclose it to this man. They were looking out for the woman and the children, but the man was being thrown to the wolves. That is not to say that every single mother is a former sidewalk hostess, and that is not to say that every woman you meet in church is a trap meant to ensnare you, but some of them may be, so please use caution. I couldn't have said it better myself the way that Russ signs off there. And this video is not meant to demonize anybody, but just a cautionary tale for both men and women to learn to discern who people really are before you get involved. That's why I like to say be honorable in the little things, because if you notice somebody's behavior regarding something small, it's a good indicator of somebody's character, especially that you can count on that they'll be the same way when it comes to something important. Please like and subscribe, help me grow my channel, and I will be back next week with another video.